Want to know how coffee might be affecting your sleep? I know I used to want to. We can sometimes wonder how we can push our recovery to the max in favour of high energy, feeling good, and being the best at what we do.
It's having a catastrophic impact on our health, our wellness, even the safety and the education of our children.
Coffee is one of the most highly consumed products worldwide on a daily basis, and the rise of coffee culture has made it an all-time favourite social activity. But what we now know about how caffeine affects our sleep is interesting.
Men who sleep 5 hours a night have significantly smaller testicles than those who sleep 7 hours or more.
But claims about coffee are often shrouded in dishonesty by poor journalistic communications and financial incentives. It's not helping with what has been dubbed a sleep loss epidemic.
It's a silent sleep loss epidemic, and it is fast becoming one of the greatest public health challenges that we face in the 21st century.
What really goes into coffee, and how does it affect our brains and our bodies? I listened to the world's most renowned expert on sleep for answers, because it wasn't taught to me when I was in medical school, and the advice that I'd heard online was very suspect.
It is your life support system, and it is Mother Nature's best effort yet at immortality.
What are we actually witnessing here? And is there any truth in this? It's time to find out what is really going on here. Usually when we're low energy, our solution is to reach for the caffeine, which then just results in more tiredness. A vicious cycle that repeats over and over. The reality is, this is the norm for most people, and this cycle is encouraged by drug companies, social media, and the entertainment industry, with Netflix's CEO stating sleep as their biggest competitor. This is not in your best interest.
The shorter your sleep, the shorter your life.
So first, we're going to hear from the world's most trusted expert on sleep, whose name is Matthew Walker, and he's going to tell us the truth about the science of caffeine and how it affects our bodies.
It is a drug. It's what we call a psychoactive stimulant. Everyone knows that caffeine can help alert you and sort of keep you awake. That's the thing that's most known. The other thing about caffeine, however, that most people don't realize is the time that it is in your system. So most drugs have what we call a half-life, the amount of time it takes for half of that drug to be essentially excreted out your system. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 or 7 hours, and it's a little dependent on what type of gene that you have to sort of metabolize the caffeine. But what's interesting is that caffeine has a quarter life of about 12 hours. What this means is that if you have a cup of coffee at noon, a quarter of that caffeine is still circulating around your brain at midnight. So to put that in context, it would be the equivalent of getting into bed and just before you turn the light out, you swig a quarter of a cup of Starbucks and you hope for a good night of sleep. You would never do that because, but that's exactly, unfortunately, what people do, completely innocently.
Okay, so now we've got a good understanding of the science of how caffeine works and how it causes problems. We're now going to take a deeper look at the research on its impact on sleep quality.
Now, even if that's true, there was an alarming study that was done where they gave people just one single cup of coffee, a dose of 200 milligrams of caffeine, standard cup of coffee, and then they measured the quality of their deep sleep by tracking these big, powerful brain waves, these glorious, beautiful deep brain waves that bathe all of our brain during deep sleep at night, and it helps also restore the body. And what they found was that just one dose of caffeine in the evening decreased the amount of deep sleep by 20%. Now, you would have to normally age by about 15 years to produce that type of a deficit in your deep sleep, or you can do it every single night by having a cup of coffee. And what's interesting is that those people will wake up the next morning. They won't remember waking up because they may not have woken up, but the quality of their deep sleep was so poor that they will still then feel unrestored and unrefreshed by their sleep.
Alright, well done for staying with us this far. I hope things are starting to become a bit more clear. The bitter truth seems to be that caffeine is quite a destructive substance when it comes to our sleep. But does this mean that we have to give up coffee completely?
Take your typical bedtime and count back sort of somewhere between 10 to 8 hours is probably getting a little bit close, but take back sort of 10 hours or 8 hours of time. That's the time when you should really stop, using caffeine is the suggestion.
So here you have it. While caffeine can be great for giving us that much needed energy boost, there is no doubt about it that it affects our sleep quality. This can mean difficulties getting to sleep, troubles staying asleep, or just not feeling very restored by our sleep. But it doesn't mean we have to stop drinking coffee altogether. We can mitigate caffeine's effects by enjoying our coffee before noon so that our bodies have more time to metabolize it properly. Or we can try decaffeinated coffee, which can help minimize some of those destructive effects on our sleep. Thanks for coming with me on this journey where we've uncovered the bitter truth about caffeine and its impact on our sleep. I hope that you now go forwards and reclaim some better nights of sleep, and maybe think twice before you have that next cup of coffee in the afternoon.